for. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want a ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
Welcome to Detroit Lions, a live show here on Lions Nation Unite, and we got a great one for you today. Got a special guest, documentary and filmmaker for our Detroit Lions, Michael Vanderpool. What is going on, good sir?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Living the dream.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. How are you doing?
Cool. I'm doing great, man. Still kind of high off that Lions Sunday night victory. If I'm gonna be telling the truth, right? I have changed out of this. I promise. Since Sunday night, but this is what I wore. This jersey is what I wore on Sunday night, so it's my new favorite jersey.
Hey, you got to wear that every single game now because that is clearly the reason why we won. So you're going to have to just wear that every single time we play a game. So all 18 game season, and then we go to the playoffs and Super Bowl.
Definitely.
Folks.
Yes, I do have a Super Bowl outfit already picked out.
Oh, that better be part of it. No doubt. If we go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be crazy. Folks, if you see that pinned comment, that is the channel for Michael Vanderpool, and he is a Detroit Lions fan. He made a documentary regarding our Detroit Lions. It's freaking excellent. It is a legit documentary. When I seen it, I was blown away. If you like Detroit Lions, this is definitely the video for you or movie for you talking about this documentary. I want to talk about that really quick, Michael. What gave you the idea to start a documentary? You know, how'd this thing evolve? How long did it make? Because it's expert done. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words. I think it was it 2017, 2018, whatever it was. Time kind of flies and you lose track of all these things. But well, I should know because it was when my son was born. He's the reason this film exists. There's two primary people. My son being born, and after he was born, we beat the Raiders. I think we beat Green Bay at home, or on the road. I can't remember exactly. And then we had beaten the Raiders pretty handily. And then we just crushed the Eagles on Thanksgiving. I remember watching that game and, just how much we handled the Eagles. And I'm sitting there in my head. I'm like, as a lifelong Lions fan, I'm like, we go through this idea of curse and superstition and what might break the curse. And I legitimately remember having this feeling that my son being born was the reason that, he was the thing now. The Lions were going to be awesome from then on. He was going to have a much different life than I had as a Lions fan. The week after that was the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary game, right? Phantom face mask, Hail Mary, Lions, hopes and dreams kind of come crashing down there. And, I basically shot just a short little 1 minute clip of me looking at my son, talking about what it might be like, whether or not I should raise him as a Lions fan, knowing that it's not always the best of times. That sat on the shelf for a little bit. Ended up showing it to Matt Derry, who does Locked on Lions and is kind of 105.1 back in the day. He's been around for quite a long time. And he was like, dude, you got to do something with this. I'm like, oh, okay. And I got in contact with a producer friend of mine, Burkhart, who goes, he's been around in the Michigan film industry for a while. Knew that we needed to do something high quality. And that's when I got a hold of Matt Barth with Riot Film Productions. He came on as a producer and helped put it all together. We just started hanging out with Lions fans, going to tailgates, showing up at parties, and just hearing people's stories. We realized that we had something pretty high quality there, or at least the potential for that. I got together with Freddie the Pizza Man, who was doing a podcast at the time. He had Kevin Lawson on, who's predominantly a big piece of this movie. And after talking to Kevin, I was like, all right, I'm going to do an interview with this guy. We're going to shoot this, and that's going to give us kind of our story, what we're going to do. And lo and behold, I'm sitting there interviewing Kevin with the Lions versus Green Bay game going on behind us. And that interview really did just give us the arc that we were going to follow, telling the story of, what it means to be a Lions fan, because I don't think a lot of people know. I honestly don't.
It was absolutely an awesome documentary. Really good. It's for me, it's exactly what I go through. Should I make my daughters Lions fans? Should they? Well, I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
my dad made me a Detroit Lions fan, and it's been misery for some time, all the way up till this year. And you wonder, should I really make my kids Lions fans? Now, they're not really into sports that much. Well, at least football. Obviously, they're kids, so I guess we get luck there. But if you're a father, you got sons or you got kids, this is a great documentary. Should you make your kids Lions fans? And I loved it. It's a legit documentary. Dr. Detroit, this is a filmmaker in a documentary. He created a Lions doc, and it was freaking epic. So you got to check it out. The pinned comment is his channel, and the documentary is in there. Is it also on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, that's when we originally put it out. We were looking for wider distribution, and that's not as easy as it sounds. Amazon does let you upload things fairly easily, so it was up for free on Prime for a while, and after a while, if you don't get enough views on Prime, they take it away from Prime, or from the free category in Prime, and people have to pay for it. So, over the past year, when we've gone through some things that haven't been so great as Lions fans, I was just like, you know what? This thing has kind of run its course. It's done what it needs to do. I didn't really make that. You don't make documentaries to make money. That's not why I made this thing, right? It's something for my son and for the community of fans. So, I'm just going to put this up on YouTube and see what happens. So it's right there on my main channel, or on the channel is the main video. It's 60 minutes long. It's probably not that hard of a watch for most people. And really, it's just me talking to fans about why they were fans and why they put up with what we put up with for years, and obviously the hope of what this team might become.
Now, I was talking to you. You're considering doing like a part 2, right? The new era of the Detroit Lions. A new, I know it costs a lot of money, but this definitely feels different.
Yeah, I mean, this year was really different. I've grown a lot. One of the reasons I made this film was because I was trying to understand why I was still a fan, right? Before this, I was the guy who was calling in on radio shows and complaining about everything, and watching the game 3 times and throwing the controller, or, throwing the remote, and shouting about play. I never played football at any level. So I'm like, what am I even talking about? But that anger and that passion around what the team was doing, I kind of, through making this documentary, kind of pulled back as a fan, and wasn't as, I don't want to say to pull back as a fan, but I wasn't as angry of a Lions fan, I guess is the best way to say it. And that kind of culminated this year, where even when we were 1-6, yeah, I was mad, and then the Hawkinson trade kind of just set me over the edge a little bit. But throughout the rest of the season, the majority of the season, I was pretty even keel. Now, watching Seattle, that Seattle game, and the Rams getting jobbed, and the Lions getting jobbed, as part of that, brought back some of that emotion. And even during that Packers game, I finally got up there. But like now, I am as I've ever been for a Lions season. I mean, this where we're at right now, and the hope for the future. So the thought would be similar to what they did with Believe Land. I don't know if you've seen that documentary. I think it was about Cleveland as a whole, and it was right before the Cavs had won with LeBron. They put together a version of that, and then during that championship run, they added more content and came out with a version of it. So I've always had in my mind that this documentary would have a celebratory ending, right? With hoisting the trophy, and using some NFL footage, and using some music that I want to use. But all that stuff is just ridiculously expensive. And I mean, we're talking. I mean, it's $10,000 to use a stinking song anymore.
Yeah, that's ridiculous
for some of these things. Yeah. So,
and
NFL footage, it's not the easiest thing to use either.
Oh, I can imagine.
For things like this.
Yeah, for sure. And even on YouTube, you can't do it. They copyright anything that's related to the NFL. Hell, I had to change my name because of it.
Did you? Really?
Yeah, legitimately, I had to change my name. It was Detroit Lions Talk by Chat Sports. Now it's just Lions Talk by Chat Sports. There's a reason for that. The good lawyers decided to contact. So, yeah, they don't play around here. And when you're starting to get a little bit of a following, they definitely want a piece of that pie. They want that money, and that's what it's all about there. So transition here. This season, what a crazy season. Our 1-6, and then we win 8 of the last 10. What do you see of the direction of this football team? Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, how we're starting to win. You've been a Lions fan for a long time. What do you see for the future of this football team and how this season went?
We've talked about changing culture and things like that for a long time. I think that's been a given, that we need to change the culture, right? And the only way to change the culture to become a winning organization is to win stinking football games. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? So when I went back and I did this past week, I went and I rewatched Hard Knocks again, just looking for some more insight, maybe a little bit less emotional investment as I had early on in the season. And all of the pieces are there. From leadership on down, I feel like, I think we've maybe felt or said this before, not at this level. I feel like the GM that we have and the coach that we have and what Dan Campbell was putting down on paper during Hard Knocks came to fruition. Yeah, that 1-6 start, that was a lot of the way the ball bounces, though. A lot of those games were close games and could have gone either way. I mean, it's very, very likely we win that first game against the Eagles, and this entire season is completely different, right? And I think that is one of the things with a young team like we have, that just taste for winning and what winning feels like, that becomes what you're known for and who you are, and you expect to win. There was that conversation, I think it was in Hard Knocks, where they're talking to some of the players and where they came from and had success in college. And that idea of that's what we're building here, where you're expecting to find success. Where I think before we'd always expected, Lucy to pull that football out from us as Lions fans and something, right? It's you're looking for the flag on every play. You're kind of wondering how we're going to get jobbed by the refs this week. And I feel like we're finally past that. Now that's me as a delusional Lions fan talking, right? who's tends to be a little bit more optimist outside of game time, but I don't care about the draft. I mean, draft will be cool, but we're no longer worried. We're no longer just solely focused on who we're going to get in the draft, right? I think we're ready tomorrow to run this team back through pretty much intact. I mean, I know we're going to make changes, but let's run it back and make that noise and make the playoffs. And
yeah, I agree with you.
Earn that respect.
I absolutely love the draft for sure. But if you look at this team, even with the players that we have right now, even though the defense is lacking a little bit, we could win. Now, I think we're just going to add on to it. We're going to get better players, younger players in the draft, probably defense, some free agents there. And this team is going to be a scary, good football team next year. Yeah. I have the Lions going to the playoffs, winning the NFC North next year. And I haven't even seen a single player they acquired yet in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think, you and I, as people who've watched the Lions for a while, I can't remember the last draft where our need wasn't everything. Right?
Yeah.
Like this time we don't have a ton of needs right now. I mean, obviously some help on the defensive side of the ball and a couple backup people on offense, but seriously, let's play tomorrow, right? Let's play tomorrow is how I feel right now.
Yeah, 100%. 100. Before, because the people want to talk about obviously Ben Johnson here in a minute and Aaron Glenn. Before
we
get that,
definitely.
We're definitely going to talk about that next. Lions defeating the Green Bay Packers. What was it? Just awesome. I mean, for me, I felt like I was on cloud nine. You've been watching this team for a long time. 3 straight wins against Green Bay. Everybody counted the Lions out in the media all week. And I know a lot of fans like myself was sitting back and I said, okay, we hear you, but we know our team now. We are confident that our team could actually win this game, and they did exactly that. Out-physicaled the Green Bay Packers, beat Karen Rodgers in Green Bay, made him salty. What was your feeling after the Lions win this game?
Well, before that, we outclassed them, and that was the big thing. We were the better team on the field, both from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and an emotional standpoint. Like all the stupid stuff that Lions used to do back in the day, Green Bay was doing at Lambeau on their own field, right? I mean, I was, truth be told, cloud nine. I probably dropped some F-bombs, celebratory F-bombs when the game ended. But my wife's a Lions fan. We were cheering. I was up watching, I was watching some podcasts afterwards, communicating with people on Twitter. I think I was up till like 2 a.m., right? Just on that high of finally, we've beat them in Green Bay before, but this one was different. This was Green Bay actually had something on the line, and we went in there and we owned them. Now, we didn't dominate the entire game. There was that moment of fear that I had that came back at the end of the game. Like, oh my goodness, if Aaron Rodgers gets the ball back, there's another Hail Mary. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? But Dan Campbell, that was that fourth down play, just smashed all that away.
Oh,
and that's Ben Johnson.
Oh man, just an amazing victory. And what they did was exactly what we needed them to be, a physical football team. That's the NFC North now. This is something I've been wanting, a physical team for years. Yeah. We've had Matthew Stafford, we had Calvin, we had this finesse team. But when it's cold out, how do you go to Lambeau and win? You have to be able to run the football, and you got to punch people in the mouth. We got that now. We have a coach that understands this. Jared Goff. What do you think of Jared Goff? He's a very controversial figure here in Detroit. I don't really know why. He's kind of a he's a boring guy, and that's great. Why is he controversial? He's not an Aaron Rodgers out there making weird statements. All he does is play well. Yeah. What do you think of Jared?
I'll have to be 100% honest. Last year, I was not a Jared Goff fan. Early this season, I wasn't. But the NFL, by its nature, is results driven, right? Why are you going to be a huge fan of anybody on this team when it's 3-14 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So I get that, and I understand that there was the Stafford very kind of divisive as a Lions fan, right? Either people love Matthew Stafford or hated him. So there's a huge part of Lions fans who were like, Stafford was their guy, trading him.
Yeah.
Very reactionary in the moment myself, like, take me with you, Matthew, because whatever. And then when Goff came in, we've got that little bit of, we just got rid of our number one draft pick, right? A first round draft pick. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? Who's Goff? We don't even know who he is. He comes in here. I don't think he really wanted to be here. Now, I have no idea about that other than maybe his body language or something like that. But to see what he did these past 9 games, I think, is that he's no interceptions the past 9 games. To see him at the end of the Green Bay game running along this and with the fans, like Jared Goff is now lionized in a good way.
Yeah.
And I think now, is he going to be the quarterback that gets us to a Super Bowl? I don't know. Only 1 out of 32 teams gets there, right? And for me, what I want more than anything else is for this team to give its all and play hard every week. That's what he's been doing. I'm all in on Jared Goff for next year. I wish he would take the gloves off, maybe. Learn to have not wear gloves in the cold might help a little bit. But
over there, but hey, he's better with gloves than Stafford was. Yeah. Everyone talks about stats, right? When it comes to the quarterback position, we look at stats, and rightfully so. I understand it, but there's some things that you just can't put a stat on. And when you look at Jared Goff, when we've had some big moments in games, he has delivered. When everything is on the line, the Penei Sewell pass, the Penei Sewell pass, the hook and ladder, the throwing it to DJ Chark for the first down. In the big moment on Sunday Night Football, he has delivered. That is not a stat that you can put your finger on. To me, that weighs more than any stat, and to me, he's proved he's the man right now. There's no doubt about it. He's the man for the foreseeable future, and I'm very happy with that. That means Brad Holmes. We get draft picks for Matthew Stafford. We get a guy who fits here perfectly. He's embracing Detroit. He's embracing that mentality, that chip on your shoulder. Matthew Stafford didn't really have that. I don't know what it was. It was a little bit different. Stafford, great player, fantastic arm. But when I look at Jared Goff, it just seems like it fits more than him.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Stafford and Stafford's toughness and his dedication to the city and the team, I don't think you never question it, right?
Never.
But I think Stafford also has had a little bit of a charmed life when it comes to football, right? And maybe not much adversity other than being drafted by the Lions. Goff has dealt with an adversity. He got tossed aside. And if I know anything about Detroit sports teams, is our best teams historically have come from taking what other people have thrown away, people with chips on their shoulders, and bringing them here, getting them bought into the culture and what we're doing. Um, and you get a whole bunch of people who weren't supposed to make it together who finally believe that they can. It's there's a lot of hope right now, and I think Goff as a leader, you hit it on the head. Goff as a leader has, in the most important moments of this season, here at the end, risen to the challenge. And
Yeah.
I don't care if a guy is throwing 50%, completing 50% of his passes first through third quarter. Fourth quarter, game on the line, need to get a first down. You got a 2nd and 17. You got to come up with this crazy gadget hook and ladderish type play.
Yeah.
Like the guy that's calling that play, snapping the ball, he's the one who's making sure that everybody in the huddle is confident and is on the same page and knows what they're doing. Because you know about football, and this is why I love football. It's one of the most intricate sports. One guy doesn't do his job, everybody else suffers. Everybody's bought in on the offense, and I think that is really Jared Goff's leadership on the field.
And it's worked out. And like you said, like all the discarded players come to Detroit. It is the the old Christmas Carol, the tossed out toys on the island there. That's exactly
Island of Misfits or whatever.
Yeah, the Island of Misfits. That's what it is, and it just worked out. It absolutely, and for whatever reason, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and Jared Goff, it just works. It just works.
Yeah.
I mean, because Brad Holmes didn't hire Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell was hired by everybody else but him, and then they just clicked together. Same with Jared Goff. It's just working. And, I'm really happy. I mean, that may go down as the best trade of all time for the Detroit Lions. You're getting a quarterback who works. He's putting up great. He's doing really great, top 10 in all stats. He's doing it in the big moments. Then you get 2 first-round picks. And I think it's a both win for both teams. Rams get a Super Bowl. We get a good player in draft picks. And it's a great trade for the Lions because it really pushed this rebuild up a year. I think it really did. With him working out, it pushed this rebuild. It made it from 3 years to 2 years.
Yeah, because we don't have to draft a quarterback round 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 next year, right? I'm of the belief that you should take a quarterback every year in the draft because the future, and these guys are never a given, right? And you have to just be able to develop your own talent. I mean, we all hate, I'm going to use your parlance. We all hate Karen Rodgers, right? But Karen Rodgers obviously is talented, but him having those 3 years under Brett Favre to kind of get in the game and understand the game and not be thrown to the wolves at the very beginning, I think that's what we need to be looking at right now. Yeah, let's work out and work through the rest of this Goff contract, but hopefully by the time we're ready to make a decision on what we're going to do, what the future is going to look like, we've got the guy in-house and don't have to worry about drafting the guy. Because we've seen how that works out for teams.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody should be upset about that. Look at what San Francisco 49ers did. They draft Brock Purdy, the last pick in the draft. Yeah. Injuries to Trey Lance, injuries to Jimmy Garoppolo, and then he comes in and he's helping them in the playoffs right now, all the way to the playoffs. The last thing the Lions need is Jared Goff get injured for a couple games, and we miss the playoffs because of it. And you didn't develop a 100%. Guy behind them. You're relying on a Sudfeld type of player who is probably not going to win a game. A Tim Boyle or a player in that sense that's not going to help you win when you can get a young, cheap guy. Because you draft a quarterback in, like you said, the 5th or 6th or 7th round. These guys are cheap. If you get a guy in free agency, it's going to be a little more expensive.
And if you bring in a guy behind a solid offensive line, which is where we're winning, right? We're winning because of the offensive line. Our offense 100%. Is successful because of the offensive line, right? It's better to bring a guy into a team that's got an offensive line, a solid offensive, that's got a running game, that has multiple weapons, right? Versus trying to bring somebody in to be the end-all be-all savior, which, Stafford, that was kind of on him. He's going to come in and be the savior here. And I'm going to argue we probably didn't have as solid of a team for him at that time as we obviously do today.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Calvin's only one player. He can only catch so many balls, right? But now this team, dude, look at it. Look at this offense. It's insane.
It's ridiculous.
The Lions are loaded. It's crazy.
And I have a feeling now, I'm doing a mock draft because I do a lot of draft stuff on my channel. But I have a feeling they're going to add a running back in this year's draft to even make it more explosive. I just got that feeling. If you look at what, Jared Goff had over there in LA, he had Todd Gurley, and it just made that offense work.
Yeah.
What do they have here? No, we got Swift and we got Jamal Williams, but what if they wanted to add one more playmaker? One more guy that can really make this thing explode. I think it's very possible that they could go that route. Well, I'll leave the player out for the mock draft, but just say it's going to be an explosive running back that they potentially could get. And if you know anything about Brad Holmes, he's more than willing to go get a playmaker. Jameson Williams there. Yeah. And so I think you get one more player there, it's scary. Now you talk about the offensive line. Absolutely stout. I mean, this is the reason why Jared Goff sitting there doing his reads, and he's not throwing interceptions, and it helps out. One thing I think the Lions are trying to build now is the defensive line. And I think in this offseason, they're going to finish that defensive lineup to be like the offensive line, and that's going to make it even better there. Let's talk about Ben Johnson. The magical Ben Johnson. The guy is just a stud. Now he's getting requests to be a head coach. What do you think about Ben Johnson? Do you think he's going to get a head coaching job opportunity this year? And if so, what do we do?
Oh, geez. The Freep has a headline, why losing Ben Johnson is a vital step in Detroit Lions rebuild. I swear. I can't read their stuff anymore. It's tough. Yeah, dude.
Hold on, what's that?
$20, I can tell you who wrote it too, right?
How the hell is that vital? It's not vital. It's bad. Ben Johnson's the GOAT.
Well, I think that, if you look at, he's young, right? And he does not have, he's got a lot of experience, but not a lot of experience outside of coordinator positions, right? Only been in the NFL, a handful of years, college experience before that. If I go into a position and I've got one job running this offense, that's a heck of a lot different job than being a head coach.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's only 32 head coaching jobs in the world, in the NFL, right? For the entire world. So those opportunities don't come up every day. Yeah. That said, somebody as young as him will likely have multiple opportunities in a career to take a head coaching position. Personally, I would want to go into a good position. And right now, I don't think that any of these people ringing the phone for him are actually good destinations, right? Who wants to go to Houston after how they're treating coaches,
nobody.
Right? And I truly think, and maybe this is me again as a delusional Lions fan, the culture that we're building in Detroit, I think that's going to make some people want to stay because we are in the middle of building something. And I think that the people that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have brought together are going to want to see this thing through. At least a couple more years of let's see what this team can really do when it gets in the playoffs.
I truly hope so. I think it'd be really good for him to come back here because, like you said, it's different between offensive coordinator and head coach. Two different positions. Cliff Kingsbury, he seems to me like a really good offensive coordinator. Just didn't work out as a head coach. And you could see something like that potentially with Ben Johnson. Give him another year as OC, and maybe he'll learn a little bit more. I think teams should look at Deuce Staley, in all honesty, as a potential head coach. I think he's got all that leadership skills, and I'm shocked that he has not gotten a request there for a potential opportunity because I love what he brings as a leader of men. Folks, if you got questions, let us know. Sure. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, well, and to that head coaching position, right, there's something to be said, like as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, positions coach, whatever it is, you get to focus on your guys, and they're your primary focus, right? And what you're doing. As a head coach, you got to worry about everybody's baggage and all the stuff up and the stuff down, and give Dan Campbell credit because the dude is doing a phenomenal job of all of that. I think he's also doing a phenomenal job with the media as well.
Yeah.
The whole from Hard Knocks, that interaction you have with Colton, Pouncey, with a phone call, cell phone ring and stuff like that. I think some of the stuff that way that he presents himself, he's presenting himself as the media because he doesn't want to be known as this super smart guy. But if you listen to him talk and watch what he does, this dude knows this game and is a super intelligent person who I think is actually using some of this media stuff to his advantage to be, and it's probably going to go away now, but to be underestimated in game scenarios and situations.
Yeah, he definitely uses the media. He does this stuff on purpose too. Yeah, I was sitting there watching the wave when that play happened to Panay Sewell. Man, you weren't watching no wave. Come on,
Exactly.
you're messing with
But
these
then you had
people.
you had people in the media, like national media, picking that up and running with it. Like, no coach ever tells you the truth. I'm sorry. It just very rarely do they tell you the truth. But they were running with it like
Like it was
Dan
fact.
Campbell is just this bumbling, like this bumbling guy who's doesn't, because he's got that big, jock look to him. You
Yeah.
wouldn't think like he's smart, but the dude is a heck of a lot smarter than everybody gives him credit for sure.
And he's a
Rope a
leader
dope.
of
Somebody
men.
in
I
your
think that's
Dr.
the most.
Detroit says in your
I think that's
comments.
the most important thing for a head coach is just be a leader of men. You have to lead, and that's what Dan Campbell is. People they believe what he's saying, regardless of he talk about kneecaps or anything else. He's got the people buying what he's doing. He's a leader by example. He goes out there, does the up downs with the team, and you know that this guy's been through it because he played the games. I think that's something that really helps out as a head coach. And maybe they just wait a little bit on Ben Johnson on that because you don't know for sure. I hope.
I don't think he goes anywhere personally. Again, that's probably me just as a hopeful Lions fan versus anything else. But why? I said, I know that there's only 32 head coaching jobs in this, but why would you go to a team that's in the middle of a rebuild or starting a rebuild versus a team that's on the come up? I'd rather be offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, positions coach for a team that's planning on winning versus some team that's going to have to hope and pray that they can hit something in the draft.
Yeah,
But
Texans
that's just me.
is a disaster of an organization. It's from the owner all the way down to the GM. There's a lot of issues there, and there's other teams like that. So just stick your
Same thing with Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to go to Indianapolis? Come on now.
They fired people after, good God, after a year or two. So for sure. If you got questions, folks, let us know. Ask myself, asked Michael Vanderpool, the man who made a documentary about our Detroit Lions. Any questions, you got it. If Ben leaves, do you think Deuce would take over OC jobs? I don't believe he would take over the offensive coordinator position. What do you think, Mike? It's weird saying another Mike as your Mike.
Yeah. I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I think he's got more of the fire of a head coach. I want my OC to be like just more contained. I love Deuce, from Hard Knocks, and I was watching him on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's got that emotional, that passionate, like which you need to have, right? To get to convince a 200-pound guy to go run into a whole bunch of 300-pound guys. You got to have that like drive and that fire, which I think he has. But I think my offensive coordinator, and again, this isn't to discount any of Deuce's cerebral qualities, but like I want somebody a little bit more probably stoic as an offensive coordinator. But that's just me talking stupid surface level stuff and having no clue about what I'm talking about. And I'm willing to admit that.
Hey, we all don't know what we're talking about. We're just here having conversations. We just kind of live in the dream, I guess, for the moment. Hashtag F Green Bay.
For sure.
Why would anyone want to leave a winning team with the future? Money, I think that would pretty much be it. Getting a pay raise, getting more responsibility. If you have the aspiration of being a head coach, you want that, then you'd want to leave there. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, for people, but throughout the years, for us to get free agents, we have to overpay people to come to Detroit. I don't think that's going to be the case this time, but that would be why people would leave. And that's, I think we didn't even touch on this. I think with what we did in Hard Knocks this season, Dan Campbell, you're going to see players want to come here now. And you don't have to overpay.
I mean, and I don't know. I saw the list the other day of the available running backs. You talked about maybe picking up a running back in the draft. I bet we can get like a Josh Jacobs type guy over here without too much trouble.
Yeah, if they don't get re-signed, if they wanted to go that route like a Josh Jacobs, very, very good running back. I think he almost had 1,500 yards or a little bit over that this season. And obviously with the Raiders kind of meltdown with their Carr situation and Josh McDaniels. So, yeah, they could do a route like that and may not have to overpay.
Because I think in the past, especially with I'm not going to say his name, but the former guys that we had in coach and GM here, this team sometimes is like that retirement league last stop for some people, right? The last door before they hit retirement. We're not going to have that anymore. These are going to be people who want to win. We're going to get people who want to come here and win and not just collect their final paycheck. And I think that is as big a testament to the culture that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have built than anything else. Is the players who are going to come here for less money than they probably would have in the past.
Paul Geiner says, hashtag FGB. Do you guys think that we will re-sign Jamal Williams? Absolutely. I think he's going to be re-signed. There's just no doubt. The guy's a leader. He fits perfect.
I mean, and he is exactly what this team needs. I mean, this team really, I think, embodied him. That ability to contain his emotion like he did about his grandfather or great grandfather passing, to hold that in for a week and just leave it out on the field. He used that adversity, that challenge inside to be better on the field. And then from him to go from using that energy and then basically converting it into a Randy Macho Man talking about Detroit, like at the end there, like he, as much as anything else, he embodies the Detroit Lions culture, the culture of Detroit more than anybody else on that team. That's no discredit to anybody else, but he's just up here with his intensity, his focus, and everything he's bringing to this team.
You know, and we reward players that play well. That's exactly what Brad Holmes has done. Did that with Khalif Raymond last year. Then we re-signed him again. Jamal Williams is the heart and soul, I think, of this team. In all honesty, this guy is just. If it ain't Dan Campbell, he's honestly the face of this team. He's just so hype. He's so exactly what we want here in Detroit. I think if we were not to re-sign him, players may not feel good about that.
My wife will be angry. She's he's her favorite, but I think so. Again, I went back and rewatched Hard Knocks, and there's some stuff you can pick up from like body language and everything else. And there's a conversation that Dan Campbell and Jamal have where Dan Campbell basically says, "I'm not worried about you, right? It's everybody else." I think that Dan Campbell sees Jamal Williams as kind of that leader on the field. That fire and stuff that Dan Campbell has in coach and that he has to kind of hold back a little bit on the sideline, Jamal can actually embody on the field. And that's awesome. Because I don't think Jared Goff's that type of leader, right? I don't see Jared Goff as a huge shouting emotional leader, but Jamal can do that for sure. All day long.
He's not the raw guy. Jamal is the raw guy. And I think you do got to have one of those guys out there. That's something that you have. I always talked about, like, when we hired Dan Campbell, he was so outspoken. We're going to kick you in the teeth, and we're going to punch you. That's what Detroit needs because we've been crapped on for years. And you got people defending. It's like, same with Jamal Williams at the end of the interview. Everybody, all you guys said we couldn't do it. Every one of you guys said we couldn't do it, and we did it. And that's what you need here. It's like, okay, we're going to push back on you.
I just thought about he embodied what the fans want to say too, right? All of us as fans, we're ready to give that finger to everybody in the media who gave a chance once we won.
Yep.
So it's cool, right? He's embodying kind of Dan Campbell on the field, and he's saying some of the stuff that us as fans wish we could say to some of these medias.
100%. And that's what this team needs. I think that's exactly what we got here. And he will definitely be back. I don't know what type of contract extension. Maybe it's like a 3-year deal. But we can afford it, folks. We can afford it. You release Charles Harris, that right there will pay for whatever he's going to make. So we're good with that. Motown Mufasa says, how would you feel about drafting 2 cornerbacks in the first round? That would be absurd, in my opinion, drafting two cornerbacks in round 1 when you got 2 picks there. I don't think that would happen. 1, I do believe will happen. I think a cornerback will be one of those 2 first-round picks. But 2, that's just absurd. To have 2 rookies, that's not going to happen. More likely, they'll get a guy in free agency, and then they'll draft a guy. Because it takes a little bit of time for a corner to develop. So to have 2 rookies, it doesn't seem like something you're trying to do when you're winning the NFC North. You want to see some results quickly.
Yeah, that might be a move for a team that's in a complete rebuild.
Yep.
But a team that's just trying to take that next step isn't going to make that move, I don't think.
And I apologize, everybody. I'm losing my voice. That's why it sounds really funky. I don't know what's going on, but I'm losing my voice. And if you watch my video today, I explain it. So I apologize if it sounds a little bit off. Brian Smith says, what do we do with Swift? This is an interesting question here. And I'm going to ask you, what would you do with DeAndre Swift?
You're asking me? Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
I'm not going to lie to anybody. Halfway through that game, I was like, dude, let's just get rid of this guy. but then he's got those moments of greatness. You know, that
Hmm.
a couple of those runs that he had helped contribute to the win. Now, do I think that we should re-sign Swift? Yeah. Do I think we should ever run Swift up the middle ever again? No. I mean, it's just he's we don't put him in a position to be successful sometimes. He's a dancer, right? We see it in
Yeah.
every he dances. And in order to be successful, you've got to get the ball out in space. Um, you know, I know he's got some injury history. I know he got beat up in that Green Bay game, but seemed to pop up fine. You know, I think it just becomes one of those things where a whole lot of other variables are going to impact whether or not how long DeAndre Swift remains on this team.
Yeah.
More consistency. I know that they would like to see more consistency out of him, more fire, more head down. But you know, it just came out today, I think, or yesterday, right? He had like a separated shoulder or battling through some more injuries. So I feel bad for some of the stuff I said about him, you know, avoiding contact. But at the end of the day, NFL is all about making contact. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I apologize to Swift right now because I doomed him. Last time I spoke to him, I said, you're going to the Pro Bowl, and it didn't happen. So I feel like I doomed this.
Oh,
When it comes to Swift, I think there's a couple things that I've noticed. First off, injury. He gets injured quite a bit. That hurts. Second, I feel like his vision is off. He's not going to the assigned spot that Deuce is bringing up where the running back should go when they go a said play here. So it feels like sometimes he just immediately goes to the edge when maybe he should go in between the right tackle and the guard. And I think that's hurting him a little bit. I feel like that's what's going on. I think he's going to be back next year for sure because he's on a rookie deal still and it's a cheap. But
yeah.
maybe he gets another year to see. But you got to stay healthy. It's got to stay healthy, and you got to do your assignment. If you don't do that,
I mean,
then
you know,
go ahead.
the history of this team and running backs, right? I mean, look, I'm wearing a Javid Best jersey because I thought he was going to be the next best thing, right? I mean, carry on. We could laundry list them all if we really wanted to. Uh, that stability at the running back position, you got to have that in this league. And yeah, he finished the year strong, but there's always that 4 to 6 weeks that we lose him for a season, and if that happens during the middle of a playoff run or during some meaningful games, we need better than that from that running back position, or
Especially
more
if you want to take it
consistency
the
from
next
that
step.
running back position.
If you're wanting to make a Super Bowl
100%.
run next year, we got to have a stable at running back. Todd Gurley, when he was with the Rams and Jared Goff, that took him to the Super Bowl. You need to have a stability there. I love Jamal Williams. I think he's fantastic number 2 back. But should we get another one in there with Swift? Possible. I think it's possible. I'd finish that offense. Finish that dang offense and make it from a top 5 offense to the best offense in the NFL. I think if you got another back, that would occur. And you have a 3-headed monster that is unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, and because I love Swift too. One thing I do like about Swift, he's really good as a pass catcher. This guy can make some big time plays out of. We know Jared Goff throwing him the football, and he's just going his thing. So there's definitely a role for him, but we'll see what they do in the offseason with that running back position. Running out there is that Karen Rogers, the cashier at Green Bay Aldi today, and not working for State Farm with Jake. Goff getting married this weekend. I think he's getting married this weekend. He could be. He's not too big in talking about personal life, but if he is, congratulations to him. That's a funny comment. Would you trade a 6th, 18th, and number 2 pick to go to the Bears pick? No. I am not going up to the Bears pick. If there's a trade, I'd like to trade back from pick 6 to pick 9. Because if you look at the talent from 5 all the way to 10, they're generally in the same area. I think there's 3 bona fide blue chippers, 1 really good player after that, and it kind of falls off a little bit, and we're sitting at pick 6. So, no, not trade up. I'll trade back, say, from 6 to 9. Get the same type of player like Brian Brzee, defensive tackle. That's me, but I'm not moving up. We need players. We don't need to give up all these draft picks.
I think back in the day, I probably would have agreed with maybe moving up because it's harder to miss on those earlier picks, later picks, just by the way that the numbers work out. But if we learned anything this past year with Houston and Amon-Ra and where these guys were, and Malcolm and Rodrigo, like where Brad Holmes and the Lions are able to find talent now, I'd be fine trading all those first round picks for later picks. Get us more people. I don't really care about finding the right person out of one. I'm like, give Brad Holmes some additional draft picks, and I guarantee this guy is going to find some diamonds in that rough that may or may not perform at the level of a first round draft pick, but will definitely contribute to this team being successful.
And he does good in undrafted rookies. I mean, my God. You got Jerry Jacobs, who's an integral part to the Lions defense. You got Brock Wright, out of nowhere, undrafted guy. Shane Zylstra. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, he knows how to find talent.
I mean, isn't it crazy how, like, we thought Hawkinson was going to go and this entire team was going to collapse, and the next thing you know, the tight ends are just like a miracle integral piece of all of this stuff, man. It's just crazy.
I didn't mind him getting traded. I was like, yeah, we got other guys, but I got to admit, I did not expect the tight end production to go through the roof after he left. Like, it just went like Brock Wright touchdown, Shane touchdown. Matter of fact, I think we had 12 touchdowns after he left to the tight ends, and that's most in Lions history. And between the 6 weeks or whatever 8 weeks it was after the trade.
I collect sports cards, right? So I just got back into collecting sports cards. Panini does this instant thing where they memorialize moments with like short run prints of cards. Freaking Brock Wright had a Panini instant card. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here? It's usually reserved for like Purdy and all these rookies and Mahomesy people doing stuff like that. But Brock freaking Wright had a Panini instant card of all things.
Yeah, these guys, and I seen a not a mock draft, but it was like priority list, and they had as tight end as a priority, and I'm like, my God, will you stop with this tight end talk? It's not a priority. We are good at the tight end position. Please stop saying this.
They could put you in as tight end with what else they got built around it.
Hey, I'll take one pass, then I'm hit, and I'm done. I am done.
Well, yeah. Make sure that contract's guaranteed.
Yeah, I gotta get that guaranteed contract because as soon as I get hit, I'm gonna be Levi Onwuzurike. I am done with my back. It's over there. Mike, should we draft Max Duggan?
Ooh.
Should we draft Max Duggan? That's TCU quarterback.
Not after last night.
Yeah,
not after last night.
Last night, look, I think he'll be probably a 6th, 7th round draft pick. I have no problem taking a flyer on a quarterback in the 6th. We got 2 6th round picks. There's going to be some other quarterbacks too, but I have no problem just taking a flyer. You know, maybe he played bad. Maybe you can develop him to be a good backup. But like you said earlier in this post, you're willing to take quarterback in every single draft just to, you never know as a backup guy. You never know.
I mean, there is such a drop-off from, the elite quarterbacks to the good quarterbacks to the barely better than a backup quarterbacks in this league, right? And I mean, going back since I was a kid, these quarterbacks who were supposed to be can't miss draft picks, you miss on them. Yeah. There are no guarantees, right? Remember back in the day, people wanted us to take Mark Sanchez over Stafford.
Remember that? They want to take they want to take the linebacker over Matthew Stafford. Yeah. It was Sanchez over Stafford, and it was the linebacker over Matthew Stafford. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. So there are no guarantees on quarterbacks. Yeah. So in my mind, if there's no guarantee, then you need to have as many brought in as possible so that you can hit on one of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not replacing Jared Goff. It's for a backup role. I would be replacing Sudfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be replacing the Tim Boyles of the world.
Yeah, where backup quarterback needs to come in. And right there, I think there's two perspectives, right? You're going to bring in a backup quarterback as somebody who is a veteran, and maybe that's probably what we do. We probably bring in a veteran more so than a rookie to back up Goff in case of injury, right? But on the other side, preparing for the future, if we could have the guy on the bench for 2 to 3 years to figure out who knows what's going to happen with Goff long term, who could come in and be, if Karen Rodgers leaves right now, they at least have Love, who's been developed and been part of the offense and knows what's going on. There's less of a time for him to ramp up. I just don't want to end up in a situation like the Cleveland Browns and have a good team and just have to struggle to find their quarterback, right? Like, that's just, I don't want to live that life.
Struggling, and you never want, like Bailey Zappi, Doug just put that in the comment section. He's a good backup for them. You said Jordan Love. You can go Brock Purdy. You can see
Yeah.
you can see good positions like that, or good players for a position like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an early guy. You really don't. I think it'd be smart to do something like that. Or like you said, if they want to get a veteran, it is a little more expensive, but maybe get a Marcus Mariota to back up a Jared Goff. Jared Goff goes down. He can hold the fort down for a game or two in that situation. Because I think the expectations next year, Michael, is to win the NFC North. My expectation now is not okay, we just want to get 9 wins. No, it is to win the NFC North. We went 5-1 in division this year. So my expectations is to beat up on Minnesota, win the NFC North, host a playoff game. And you want to make sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed for the depth of a team like that, because you're bound to have injuries. You got to have good depth. Quarterback is a depth position as well.
Yeah. Knock on wood, Goff played every game. Did he play every snap
Yes.
this year? Other than
every snap besides taking the knee with Sudfeld. Now that was fantastic.
Which is
that was great.
But that's not always the norm, right? I
No,
mean, there
no.
could be a sequence in the end of a game where you got to have somebody that can come in and make a throw. And I'd probably rather that person be a veteran than a rookie. For a team like you said, who next year they're competing. They're competing for a home playoff game.
Yeah, 100%. I think there end up being like 63 starting quarterbacks this year because of injury. And that just shows you, what happens in the NFL. Just injuries do happen. It savaged the 49ers. Trey Lance, boom, down. Jimmy Garoppolo, boom, down. But they drafted a guy in Brock Purdy, and now they're in the playoffs. They won their division. They have a good chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And they built their team, and then they just got a guy late in there to hold the fort down. That's all he's doing. He's not spectacular. Brock Purdy's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but damn it, he can get the football to his receivers. He's reliable to hand it off. And that's what the Lions, I think, should do. Same type of situation there.
And with San Francisco's defense, they don't need him to put up 40 points to win a football game, right?
Nope.
But yes, you're 100% though. What San Francisco had at the quarterback position is probably what we need to have next year, right? A
100%.
Starter, a backup who could be a starter, maybe in the right scenario, or maybe, and then 5th, 6th, 7th rounder who's ready to come in and make magic happen if we need it in the moment.
Absolutely. That's all. I agree fully. And if you want to get a veteran, guys, there's going to be a lot out there too. You can acquire that can hold it down. Marcus Mariota. Somebody said in there Baker Mayfield. I don't know about Baker Mayfield there. Yeah, I know. I don't think he wants a backup role. I think he's going to look for a starter position. I don't know about that one.
I was following some Rams folks still from last year, and a few of them were all excited about Baker. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Baker Mayfield is not going to be the answer for any team. That's just
I gotta say, they should have won that damn Seattle game. They got screwed over by the referees on multiple occasions. Yeah. I watched that game, and I was real upset about that. They should have won that game. We would be in the playoffs if it was there. But there's Colt McCoy. Yeah. He's a pretty good backup. He was for the Arizona Cardinals. I think he's a free agent. So there's players out there. Have a Sean Hill type of guy.
What if we could pick up Taysom Hill? Any way we can get Taysom Hill, he'd be phenomenal as a weird gadget play backup quarterback.
I think he's that would be definitely controversial. I got to say, a lot of people would have words over that one. Hashtag FGB. Should we re-sign Alex Anzalone to another year? Alex Anzalone. What do you think about him? He actually played really well down the stretch.
It's hard. I think it's hard to judge that position right now because it is definitely a point of need for the Lions, right? Made some incredible tackles. I saw his end of year stats. I think he performed as good as can be expected from somebody in that position. I think we keep him. I think we do. I mean, yeah, there's so many other things that we need from the linebacker position that Anzalone, at least we know what we're getting, right? And with all the other question marks around that position, let's keep him, let's keep Rodrigo, and then build around them.
I think.
Now, does that mean Anzalone's going to retire a Lion?
No,
probably not.
And he could
But
be
does it get us through the next year or two?
yeah, I think
Sure.
Anzalone for a starter, question mark, depending on a contract. I still think we need to draft a linebacker early in the draft and potentially get one in free agency. I don't think it'd be bad to bring him back as a veteran guy, but we still absolutely need to upgrade that position in free agency and in the draft. I'm talking second round, potentially getting a linebacker there, but
Yeah.
just depending on a contract, it wouldn't be bad because he did play well. He is respected. He's trusted. And as a backup
know what you're
role
gonna
or a
get.
guy who come in on certain downs, I would be fine with that.
Yeah. You know what you're getting with Anzalone,
No,
right?
you're getting, yep. When we initially got him 2 years ago, I was like, man, this is a terrible decision. Like, well, let's get a real linebacker, but he's done well, and I got to eat crow on that. I feel like he's done enough, and the Lions got the best out of him. So it's really good to see the guy who looks like Thor come in there and pound a Mjolnir against some of these guys. So I feel like Anzalone brings
Yeah, for
energy
sure,
on the
for sure.
defense. He does. I think Killa, he does. Goff is better. He's not the
Intangibles.
same Rams anymore. I agree. You know what? When I look at the Goff situation, I think he lost a lot of confidence with how he was dealt with over there. I think it lost confidence, and we built his confidence back up. Like, you can see it. He is confident, and even in his interviews he did yesterday, it's like, damn, he's really got that swag now. He's got that, yeah, we're going to go here, we're going to do this, and I think when you lose confidence, you're not going to play well. You feel like, okay, I'm going to lose my job. My coach doesn't believe in me, and now the coaches believe in him. Dan Campbell loves him. Brad Holmes loves him, and it's like, you know what? I can do this.
Because the worst thing for any athlete, I think, is being too much inside your own head.
Yeah,
And you break up with your girlfriend or whoever, right? You got that parting of ways. You start to question all of the everything. Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? What could I have done differently? So much cerebral stuff getting in the way of just going out there and balling. And I think now he's back in that balling mentality.
yep. Confidence breeds excellence. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
confident, you're
All day.
gonna be a failure, and you get in your head, and that's just like any job. If you feel like your manager hates you and you're screwing up all the time, it's gonna get at you after a while, and you are gonna start screwing up. But if it's like they trust you to do your job, it's like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. Folks, we've been on for an hour, and I want to give a huge shout out to Michael Vanderpool here and talk about your channel. Talk about the documentary really quick. People can find this bad boy. It is pinned in the comment section right now. You got to check it out, but talk about that really quick before you close the show out.
Yeah, so just huge thanks to a whole bunch of people for helping to put that thing together. Matt Derry, Freddie the Pizza Man. If you haven't checked out Freddie's joint, definitely worth going over there and grabbing a New York slice. The folks at WJR that we interviewed for this, like we had Frank Beckman, reliving some of his stories, which is cool because we got to talk to him before he passed. George Blaha's in this thing, and then a whole bunch of fans. Like we just basically tailgated with folks and walked up and hung out, and that the hospitality from Lions fans is just freaking phenomenal. So people help support this thing, made it happen. From my wife who put up with me being gone every Sunday and off for a week trying to get this thing edited, to just that community of fans that we have who have supported this thing while I was making it and afterwards. It's just really, really cool to be a part of One Pride. I mean, that's, we're here because of the community and the hope more than anything else. And now we got that sugar on top with these wins. So, or cherry on top with these wins. So let's, I'd love to keep telling the story of Lions fans. Actually been reaching out to a few people to do podcast type interviews talking about how they are fans and what they're doing as fans. Those things will be dropping on the channel as well. And then if my rich uncle shows up, I'd like to recut the documentary with some Motown music and some NFL game footage, but that stuff's not cheap. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's not cheap at all. I'm telling you, folks,
Yeah.
that the NFL don't play there, and from experience,
the,
it's not cheap.
The one, and I think the one thing, because of that, a lot of these moments that we have as Lions fans from watching the games, they're kind of emblazoned in our head, right? And not just not just the what we saw on the TV screen or live at the game, but that environment that we were in, right? I mean, I physically can feel that game against Washington in '91. I can tell you the room I was in. I can tell you what it looked like. I can tell you the exact TV I watched it on, and I can feel that gut punch in my stomach from when it was like 45 to whatever it was, right? So what we wanted to do with this movie, and I think we pulled it off. Maybe you can testify to this. Like, I wanted people to have that feeling of hanging out with their friends, hanging out with Lions fans, talking about being a Lions fan and what it meant to them. And I think we pulled that off. So,
100% pulled it off. It's like a barroom discussion. It was excellent documentary. It's a legit documentary. This is not just some YouTube-made thing. It's legit. So check the documentary out. I've posted it, again, in the comment section. I reposted it. Go in there, subscribe to his channel, and listen to The One Pride. With that said, folks, I appreciate everybody hanging out today. Another great show. Videos will be dropped to this channel every single day. We're going to have one with Herm. I'm going to make it today. You'll probably see it tomorrow. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters. They're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it.